It's our last session before lunch, and I am delighted to be joined by Phoebe. Phoebe, do you want to give us a quick introduction to yourself?
Hello, I'm Phoebe, and I am one of the hosts of BBC Introducing in Scotland. BBC Introducing in Scotland is really lucky to have not just a local area to search through the music of. So in England, the BBC Introducing shows are broken down by county, so they only get to cover a small area, whereas BBC Introducing in Scotland is the entire country. So I'm lucky enough to dig through all of the fresh music that's being made in Scotland. I'm a presenter, obviously, and I also work at 432 Presents, which is the live booking agency that books across Scotland and the rest of the UK. One of the biggest shows that we've got going on at 432 at the moment is Lucy Dacus is coming to play in Glasgow, so it gives you an idea of the kind of gigs that we're working on. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, do you want to give us an overview of how you got started? I'm aware you wear many hats in the industry. So, how you got started and what led to the current roles that you have?
Sure. So, I have always loved radio. When I was really small, then my mum got me like a karaoke machine and it played the radio, but you could also tape on it. And so I used to listen to the radio, and then when the DJ would start to talk, I'd stop him and just jump on the mic myself and introduce the tracks myself. So like from that moment, I think I was like, oh yeah, radio. And I grew up in the Scottish borders where absolutely nothing happens. There is like more sheep than people. There's nothing going on. And so many of my friends started to go a little bit off the rails when we got to teenage land. And some of my other pals wanted to remedy that. So they set up a radio station, which they managed to get an FM license for through Ofcom, which was incredible for a couple of 16-year-olds. And so once they set up this FM station, they knew that I was really liking music. So they said, do you want to come in and maybe host a show? So I went in and I basically played 2 hours straight of Led Zeppelin every single time. But immediately was like, oh yes, the things that I am good at, it's music and talking, and the radio is the perfect career to combine them. So I went to uni to study journalism because I've always been good at writing, but I specifically chose the course that I did because it had a huge focus on radio. And when I was at uni, I got headhunted by Radio 1. They'd heard my show on the student radio stations, and they said, you're amazing, do you want to come in and cover? Somebody who was the host of BBC Introducing on Radio 1 at that time, which was a Scottish guy at that time called Ali McRae. So I was like his understudy from the age of 19. If he was off or he was on holiday or whatever, then I would cover him, which kind of inflated my ego because it meant that by the time that I was leaving uni, I was like, I'm just going to stroll straight into a job in radio, which is not how the industry works. So then I was diddling about doing jobs at marketing companies and copywriting and things like that. During that time, I then also became a DJ, so kind of my focus went on to DJing music live rather than talking about it. I was still doing lots of community and student radio and things like this, but it didn't lead to a job, so I was focusing more on DJing. And it was only in 2020, in the pandemic, that BBC Scotland, who at that time did not have a BBC Introducing show, the only country in the UK that did not have a BBC Introducing show because BBC Radio Scotland is so up to date. So in 2020, they decided now is the time that we are going to focus on fresh new music coming out of Scotland. And they launched BBC Introducing, and I've been there ever since. And I've always put on my own gigs from being in a small town and having lots of pals who are in bands and things like that. And also being a DJ, then you just end up kind of putting on events and getting involved in things that way. So I'd already been booking for a nightclub for quite a long time when I was DJing there. It was a night called Walk and Skank at the Berkeley Suite, and I was used to booking artists and international acts and travel planning and all this kind of thing through that. And so last year I saw this job opportunity going at 432 Presents, and I was like, oh, I know how to do those things. So now I work there as well. And my main job in that role is booking all the gigs at a venue in Glasgow called the Hug and Pint, and I also book support acts for the bigger shows that 432 put on, like I was saying, Lucy Dacus and things like this. So it's a really perfect crossover for me because all the level of acts that I'm wanting to book for these shows are also all the people that I love to support on BBC Introducing. So it's the two things go perfectly hand in hand.
Amazing. That's such an interesting route into how you got started. So we've mentioned BBC Introducing. For anyone who doesn't know, could you say what BBC Introducing is and how does it support grassroots artists?
Yeah, so BBC Introducing is for unsigned, undiscovered and under the radar artists. It is for all of the emerging music makers who have a strong vision and know exactly that this is what they are meant to be doing and want to take their music to a further height. So anyone who's maybe already got quite a strong draw or crowd in their local area and is wanting to really boost that and get their music seen by more people, it's for you. It's not for people who have got all the managers and all of the record labels and all of this. It's for you. It's for grassroots people. And BBC Introducing, the power of BBC Introducing is absolutely unbelievable. The first time that Ed Sheeran ever was played on the radio, it was through BBC Introducing. Ellie Goulding, Florence and the Machine, household massive names, Adele. People like this, it's all through BBC Introducing, not just random acts that you never hear of. It's like the biggest people in the music industry have all been supported by BBC Introducing. Ezra Collective, who won the Mercury Prize last year, first got played on BBC Introducing. It launches so many careers, and it's such an incredible kind of fast entry into being able to get so many further opportunities as an artist. So it's something I've always loved, and something I used to listen to pretty much religiously because I loved radio. And the fact that I now get to be the one that helps artists do this is literally, for me, a dream come true. And I cannot impress on fresh music makers enough how much of a good opportunity it is. So, yeah.
Amazing. So we've heard how BBC Introducing can launch careers for any artist in this room. What's the process for artists getting their music played on BBC Introducing?
Right, listen up. This is the most important thing that I'm going to say to you today. The only way to get your music on BBC Introducing is to use the BBC uploader. That is at bbc.co.uk/introducing. You need to make a little profile, stick a bio in there, upload some songs. It takes you 5 minutes. This is the only way to get your music on the show. The reason for this is because the BBC cannot play any music on BBC Introducing that has not been submitted to us. You have to share your music with us so that we can choose it. We cannot go digging and find it. We cannot open the many emails that you send and say, do you want to play my music? No, the process is there. The online form is there so that you can do that. It is the only way. Sliding into my DMs a million times, it's not the way. Just use the uploader. And if you listen to the BBC Introducing in Scotland show, you'll see now that me and my co-host Steph have started to get a little bit irritated on the air because we started to have to say every time, this is the only way to get your music. So basically, this is a long and complicated way of saying, do not slide into the DMs. Just use the uploader.
Okay, so we're using the uploader, please. So, you know, music's been uploaded. What can artists do to make their submission stand out? And also, once it's been uploaded, is there a kind of behind the scenes process, or is it just it gets played?
So to help your music get noticed, have a cracking bio. Like, I don't need to know where you went to school, and I don't need to know what your A-level results were, and I don't need to know like who your mum is. That's not relevant. What I do need to know is maybe if you've got an EP coming out, or maybe the places that you've already performed, or the festivals that you might be booked for this summer, or maybe you've got a really cool story about why your song has been made, or what the inspiration about it is, or maybe you've just got a daft joke for me, something that is going to help me remember you as well as your music. So obviously you can write about yourself, but just think about what's the necessary things. What makes you interested in one of your favourite artists? Try and mimic what they are putting out as their bio online, rather than just telling me like, so I grew up in this place and my dog was called this. Like, keep it relevant, keep it fresh, keep it about you and your music. And if you don't have loads to say, that's totally fine. But if you try and think about it from a radio presenter's perspective, I could love your music. Your song could be the most incredible song I've ever heard. But if you've not given me any information about you as an artist, how am I meant to talk about you on the air? How am I meant to describe you, or what might be coming up, or where people can go and see you play? I can't do any of that unless you give me that information. So if your song's incredible, but I have nothing to say about you, I might not be able to play you, because how am I supposed to chat about you on the air? So give me your best top 3 headlines about you and how incredible you are. And that makes it a lot easier for me to be able to chat to you on the air. And it also helps me remember you, because you were saying about the kind of backstage processes. So the way that we choose the songs each week for the radio show is that things get uploaded every single day. Obviously, we will receive anywhere between 300 and 2,000 submissions per week, depending on how busy it is. And it is our job, it's me, my co-host, my producer, 3 of us, to listen to all of those submissions per week. We have to listen to them all, because otherwise we don't get paid. So we listen to them all and we choose our favourites and the best ones in a whole range of genres and diversity and all the important things that make up the music industry. But because there's so much to listen to, then you have to help us figure out who you are, your identity as an artist, and what is amazing about you, basically. So we end up choosing the music and getting it all sorted, I guess, for the show by the Wednesday, which is a sneaky tip. So what I'm trying to say is if you have a release based in a week that you would really like the radio to support your music that week, you know, you've got a single coming out on the Saturday and you want us to play it on the show on the Friday, then that means you would have to have uploaded your music by Wednesday morning. So I'm not really meant to tell any of you that, but I'm going to do it anyway. So yeah, if you've got tunes and you would really like them played on a specific show in a specific week, then get them in by the Wednesday. However, because I was saying we get a lot of music and that can make a big backlog, something I would really like to impress on you is like if you upload and it doesn't get played, that doesn't mean that we don't like you or your music. It doesn't mean that there's anything against you. It could be that week we've had 2,000 submissions and we've got a 2-hour show. We can play realistically in a show a maximum of 13 tracks, and that's if we say like absolutely nothing about the artist. That's like hardly any conversation, that's just ramming in the tunes. So given how much music we've got to go through and how little time we've actually got to play the music, if you upload and you don't get played this first time, don't have your heart broken. It is not about you. It's probably just because there's a big backlog, or it could be that I can hear you and your artistic vision and your talent, but think that maybe you're just not quite there yet. So have the faith and the trust in the radio presenters and producers. Like this is my bag to hear when an artist is kind of ready to launch and to break. So if you upload and you've not yet got a play, then don't be disheartened, because it might be that there's a bit of a bigger plan for you.
Amazing. So we've talked a lot about the show. Are there any wider opportunities that the BBC Introducing provides?
So many. It's actually unbelievable. So obviously getting played on your local radio station is incredible, but then Radio 1, like I mentioned, have got their own introducing show. So you might get played on the introducing show on Radio 1, which is, you know, pulling from all of the local introducing shows from across the UK. There's also on Radio 1 a specific introducing rock show. So if you're making mad riffs, then you might want to upload to that. There's also a specific Radio 1 dance show, which, as you can imagine, is like fresh emerging electronic artists, so you could get played on that. And then there's also all the festival opportunities. There are so many BBC Introducing acts that get picked from all across the UK to play at some of the UK's biggest festivals on BBC Introducing stages. So we've got a stage at Glastonbury, we've got a stage at Reading and Leeds, there's now going to be a stage at Transmit. There's all these places that if you upload your music, people are constantly looking, oh, who's going to fit for that festival lineup. So you might not only be played on the radio, but you might get picked up to play at a festival. There's also, specifically for us in BBC Introducing in Scotland, we have our BBC Introducing Scottish Act of the Year. So this is essentially like a top of the pop style TV programme. There's a short list of finalists, which gets whittled down to 4 by a panel of judges. The 4 then go on the TV, play one of their own songs and play a cover. And then it's kind of like a live finale. The winner gets announced and they get to perform again. It's an incredible opportunity to get to perform on the television, but you also win a beautiful trophy that you get to take home. You get 2 live sessions with us on BBC Introducing in Scotland to come and play live on the radio. You get a slot to perform at Transmit. And the last few years, although this isn't an official part of the prize, the last few years the winners have been picked to play at Reading and Leeds. And you also get a bespoke PR campaign specifically for your music from Electric Shores Publicity. And I know Jen personally at Electric Shores Publicity. She is an unbelievable champion for new music, and she is so good at what she does that, I mean, I'm guessing from all of you being in this room that you'll be aware of Ben's. So if you don't, then go and look him up. You see how much of an absolute fly he's on. He was our first ever BBC Introducing Scottish Act of the Year winner, and he got the full force of Electric Shores Publicity PR campaign for him. And now he's like Celtic's like superstar boy. He's like rapping in their adverts, and like everybody knows him, and he's getting invited to do amazing like brand campaigns and all of this, and that's all because of Jen. So if you are winning this prize, Scottish Act of the Year, then you are getting someone who is so ready to shout about you from the rooftops and fight your corner, which as a fresh artist is absolutely invaluable. And then there's other opportunities that come out of it as well. If you upload your music, as I say, it's not just people listening to it for the radio opportunities. And there's so many other things that BBC Introducing links up across the BBC. So my favourite example of this is there's a producer from Aberdeen called Lewis Seabright, and he started uploading to BBC Introducing in Scotland, and then we passed his music on to the One Extra BBC Introducing show, and they loved his beats so much. DJ Target played them on his One Extra show. DJ Target also hosts a show on BBC TV called The Rap Game that some of you might have seen. And DJ Target loved Louis' beats so much that he said, hey, could you make all of the beats for this next series of the Rap Game? So every single beat that those rappers were rapping on in that particular series, Louis had made all of them. And the only reason he got that gig is because he had uploaded to BBC Introducing. So there's so many things that it can bring you, not just a spin on a Friday night on Radio Scotland.
Amazing. So we are coming up to the end of the session. So we're going to close out by asking, how can people get started in similar roles to yours?
Get involved. If you want to get involved in radio, then student radio or community radio, there's literally nothing better. Like, it's the perfect opportunity to play. You don't have to take yourself too seriously. If you want to take yourself seriously, incredible, because you never know who's listening. Here was me on Radio Cali as a student, and like, here's Radio 1 sliding into my DMs. So it is always worth taking it seriously, but student radio and community radio is a perfect place to play and figure out who you are as a presenter. Do you want to be an entertainer? Are you cracking jokes? Are you full of nonsense? Or are you like serious music journalists? It's your space to find out. And for booking agent stuff, then basically if you've got pals that are in bands and you want to make a sick event, find a venue that's cheap to put it on, or a free one if you're able to, and just do it. There is no better way to get into the booking side of things or the event curation and hosting side of things than just doing it, because you have to just do it to be able to learn the processes and make the mistakes to understand what it is to be a good booking agent. You have to do gigs that will have not a single person through the door. You have to do gigs where you're like, oh my God, this is sold out and the health and safety is going crazy, but we'll deal with it and take a deep breath. That's the only way to cut your teeth. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. We are right on the end of finishing this session.
Thank you.